Amad Diallo could be the perfect player to fix one of the key tactical problems which Erik ten Hag's Manchester United is currently facing. But of course, before we can talk about how Amad solves the problem, we need to address what the problem actually is. So let's go over to the tactical board, and we are focusing today on the striker position. Marcus Rashford currently playing up front and, to be honest, struggling in the past couple of games. We know that Marcus Rashford is not a true traditional striker. He isn't someone who excels in dropping deep to link the play. That's not his game at all. But he's also not someone who does a good job of backing into centre-backs and being a bit more of a target man. And then on top of that, in terms of runs in behind, he is good at this, but not as good as what he is when he plays out wide. And also, United simply aren't really utilising this at the moment. As a result, Marcus Rashford is seeing very, very few touches of the ball and is getting very little service in the final third. Now, of course, the obvious solution is just to bring Rasmus Højlund in because he's the striker, but he's out injured at the moment. So in my opinion, Erik ten Hag needs to get a little bit creative, and someone who I think he could bring into the side as the striker is Amad Diallo in the false 9 role. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is why Amad could play this role. The main reason he could do it is because he is extremely technical and very good at operating in tight spaces. This is a 360-degree player. Not someone who shows bias towards playing one side of the pitch. He is happy to rotate, play in these central areas and deal with pressure from all different angles. Because of his low centre of gravity, his brilliant first touch, his ability to protect the ball and move the ball forward. Now, in terms of a centralised role, he hasn't played here for a prolonged period yet in his career, but he did feature here a few times for Sunderland in this more centralised position. And even when he plays more naturally as a winger, he still looks to come inside the pitch. And this is actually reflected sort of in his FBref report from the past 365 days. Now, of course, this is largely comparing him to players in the Championship, where he played a lot of that football over the past year. But what we can see is that in terms of retention, this is a very good player, a very good technical player. Passes attempted, the 86th percentile. Pass completion, the 99th percentile. Amad is not someone who tries things for the sake of it. He isn't someone who forces it. But also, he isn't someone who always runs in behind. He is a player who wants to operate in half spaces, in tight little pockets of spaces. He wants to come towards the ball. So tactically, could this work for United? Well, it could. And the reason it could was because it would allow you to move Garnacho back to the right-hand side, where he has been playing recently, but also bring Marcus Rashford to the left-hand side of the pitch, where we all know he is much, much better. So how would this actually work from a tactical point of view? Well, recently United have built possession in some form of back three, with a slight alteration in the last game. However, still, United have struggled to progress the ball through the middle of the pitch. Having an extra player dropping into these areas could certainly allow United to address some of those problems. Having the extra man in here literally outnumbers the opposition. If you outnumber the opposition, you've got more options, therefore more potential to move the ball, but also keep the ball in these central areas of the pitch. The other thing which Amad would do by dropping deeper as more of a false 9 is drag the opposition centre-backs with him. He's the sort of player who wants to come towards the ball, and the centre-backs need to follow him. But of course, they've got a decision to make. Because if they do follow Amad too far, then they're leaving a lot of room for someone like Marcus Rashford to exploit, and we know that Rashford is so good at attacking this sort of space. We've seen it when he's played up front with Martial before, for example, so we know that Rashford could take advantage of this. But also I do feel as though Garnacho could as well. Garnacho is quite a quick player, someone who looks to be quite direct going at the opposition. Is this a side of his game which we could see in the short term, whilst Rasmus Højlund is out injured, bring Amad into the side, get him to drop deep, link the play, and create this room for Garnacho to run into, create this room for Marcus Rashford to run into. So increasing the threat of our two wingers, but also aiding our central progression. That could be key, creating these overloads, because of course the opposition will be aware of this wide threat. If Amad starts dropping into these positions, the centre-backs will be very wary of leaving Marcus Rashford with all this space. And that's where that decision comes for the centre-backs, because if they drop off, they're now leaving room in the midfield, in front of the defence, where Amad can drop deep and link the play. Someone like Bruno Fernandes could then run past him. Let's say Scott McTominay was in the team as well. He is someone who would look to run past. I'm aware this is Kobe Mania, but just imagine it's McTominay. He can make that run pass, forward, into the box. Going past Amad in this false 9 role, allowing United to really overload the centre of the pitch. Because with 5 players in these positions here, with the centre-back stepping forward to provide a little bit of width at times, with 5 players in the centre of the pitch, you're going to outnumber most teams. Whether they set up in a 4-3-3 defensively, a 4-5-1, a 4-4-2, a 4-4-2 diamond. By having 5 players in the centre, but still stretching the pitch with Marcus Rashford and Garnacho, you are really creating key overloads. The other important thing here, though, is that we get Rashford and Garnacho back in their better positions where they've been doing well recently. With Rasmus Højlund up front, Rashford was starting to come into form and so was Garnacho on the other side. Since Rasmus Højlund has been out of the team, we've seen Rashford moved into a position where he isn't as comfortable, and Garnacho into a position where I'm just not sure he's ready to play at the moment. So get these two back into their better positions, get Amad linking as a false 9, and you could have something which really works. Now the counterpoint may be, for at this stage of the season, to completely change the idea, change the attacking approach. Could be dangerous. You know, this isn't a structure which United have practiced with. Except it is. Pre-season, Jadon Sancho was a false 9 for a lot of the games, and he played really well there. And this seemed to be something which we were really working on in pre-season, looking to bring into the season. For some reason, when the Premier League campaign then started, we saw it completely disappear. But in pre-season, the benefit of doing this was pretty clear. Jadon Sancho here, dropping deeper, creating this 4-man midfield, literally giving us the extra player. We can see Dan Gore here is now completely free. We can also see that Donny van de Beek is free. It's difficult to man mark when you've got this many players available in the centre of the pitch. And like I said, Jadon Sancho in pre-season genuinely done a very, very good job of playing this role. We've got it again here. He drops a little bit deeper. He allows United on this occasion to create a midfield diamond. But what we can also see is that Eriksen is just chilling a little bit deeper over here. So if we were to connect him as well, we've actually got 5 central midfielders here. And again, 5 centralised players would massively increase United's ability to play through the centre of the pitch, and that could really help us. At the moment, we are restricted to wide combinations, and particularly with the left-back situation being a little bit sticky, you know, Amrabat there, Lindelof there, we're struggling out wide. Whilst we are struggling out wide, why not try and enhance central progression? Amad into the side, up front, playing this false 9 role, which Jadon Sancho performed very, very well in pre-season, could work. And you can see the advantages of it here. When you have a false 9 who drops away from defenders, they don't know whether or not to follow him. This creates room for other players to attack. The second you get a defender to hesitate, you have won, because you create space for other players. And that is the key thing which I felt really worked in pre-season. We can see it again. Sancho on the edge of the penalty area. We've got 5 players ahead of him. Donny van de Beek was particularly good at it in pre-season. But again, McTominay could do this. Bruno Fernandes could make those runs past the ball. Mason Mount when he's back from injury. I do believe that Amad Diallo could be an option as a false 9 for us from now until the end of the season. With Rasmus Højlund, our only real striker, I think Amad could be a great option. Because when you move Marcus Rashford up front, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't think Marcus Rashford is very good as a striker. I don't think he's ever been great there, and I don't think he ever will be. Partly because I don't think he wants to play there. And I think Rashford is a confidence player, a player who is at his best when he's enjoying his football. And he just doesn't seem to get that enjoyment from playing up front. So I would keep Marcus Rashford to the left-hand side, keep Garnacho to the right-hand side, let those two play in what I feel are their best positions at the moment, where I think they are the most comfortable, and let Amad come into this centralised position. Let him play, let him operate in these areas. I think if you do that, you make the most of his technical skill set. We can also see, obviously, higher up, his threat in the final third as well. Non-penalty goals last season, the 86th percentile. Shot creating actions, the 93rd percentile. Of course, Amad is not a proper striker. He's not going to be your number 9, which sniffs for chances in the penalty area. But get him in that false 9 position, dropping deep, linking the play, creating key overloads, and he could create chances for other people, and create spaces for other people. Defensively, he's also pretty hard working as well. He is a player who is aware of the fact that you need to duel strongly. Of course, he isn't the biggest guy, you know, he's not the biggest presence, but he is someone who goes in for the tackles, who has that little bit of grit to his game. And defensively, in terms of our wingers, I actually think he's one of the better ones. So we could utilise that up front, that work rate. But again, for me, it's more about what you get for him on the ball. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. A little bit of a shorter video today, but I just kind of want to throw this idea into the air to see what you guys think. Could it be used this weekend against City? Could it be used next weekend? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think there is a better position for Amad or a different option which we could use up front over the next few weeks? If so, let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.